I'm going to start this episode off with a little story from my childhood. For those of you who don't know, I'm an identical twin. My sister Allie looks just like me. In fact, if you head to my Instagram reels, you can see for yourself how identical we still are to this day. But when we were kids, it was especially hard for our family, our teachers, our friends to tell us apart, right? And my dad even swears that he mixed us up as babies, which he wouldn't be surprised if I was actually Allie and she was me, but that still kind of confuses me a little bit. But okay, so one Christmas, my mom made us these matching sweatshirts. Yes, my mom was that mom that dressed us the exact same, which was just great. But these sweatshirts that she made, she thought they were really funny. Mine said, "I'm not Allie," and hers said, "I'm not Ashley." At first, we were so young, like I think we were 3 or 4, and we probably pitched a fit because we wanted to wear the sweaters that had our own name on it because we didn't really understand the knot part. But when we went to Christmas and everyone looked at the sweaters, they loved them except for us. You see, over the years, it was pretty frustrating being known as one of the twins, right? Like, we fought hard to create our own identities over the years to stand apart from each other. I used to grow my hair long and then she'd cut her hair short, or I'd get really good at writing and she'd get really good at drawing, for example. We'd get pretty competitive too, and it got so bad that we even decided to go to different high schools when we were teenagers, okay? So to this day, at family reunions or when I head back to our old small town where we'd grow up, someone would come up to me and say, "Which one are you?" Or they'd ask some sort of question that just tried to get at, like, "Are you Allie or are you Ashley?" Right? So to those of you who think it must be so cool to be a twin, trust me, it is, and she is 100% my person. But it's also mighty frustrating to not have that identity of your own, or to not have the ability to stand out, or for someone to recognize you as you, like, right away and then remember you, right? So I'm telling this story today because I think I have this life experience and it makes me pretty qualified when it comes to talking about brands and the ability to stand apart from others in your industry. I see this mistake over and over again when I have new accounts follow me on IG and I look at their logo or their colors and their fonts and their content and their offers, and I think, wow, I've seen this before. Which one are you again? You don't want to look to be like the identical twin to your competitors, right? Like, I didn't think so. You want to stand out, you want to show the world what makes you unique and different from unforgettable, right? You want to be memorable. You want your customers and clients referring people to you. Am I right? So how do you do it? By putting that thing that makes you unique at the forefront of your brand. It's you. It's your personality injected into your brand that will be your solution. Okay. So I promise for this episode that I will teach you 6 different ways to add more personality to your brand that will help you stand out. It'll also make you relatable. It'll also allow people to get to know who they're supporting and create a really strong connection, which then builds a really strong community of people that you can market to, right? That you can depend on, and you'll have your people. So just an FYI, this is not new. Okay, having a personal brand or allowing your brand to have a personality, that's something that the big shots have been doing for years. So let me give you an example. Aveeno hired Jennifer Aniston, right? Or Coca-Cola hired Taylor Swift. So people don't connect to brands. They don't connect to logos or business names or colors or fonts. They don't. They connect to the personalities. And if your brand is lacking some of your personality today, let's add a little bit more of that into your brand so that you can stand out and hopefully see a little bit of change in your business and your marketing strategy.
You're listening to the Ashley Avis Podcast, the place to be for entrepreneurs who want to market and sell with confidence. Around here, we're chatting about personal branding, social media strategy, web design, email marketing, sales mastery, and so much more. My biggest mission is to help you effectively sell online with confidence and clarity. Ready to grow your business, bank account, and an online presence in a way that leaves you feeling liberated and excited? Subscribe and tune in every Tuesday with an open mind and a notepad. Let's do this.
Okay, so before I get into how to add that personality into your brand, I need to first lay out some ground rules, actually. It's like the one and only golden rule that I have. So, when adding personality to your brand, it needs to be authentic. So, what does that mean? Authenticity can mean a few different things to different people, but here's what I mean when I say authentic, okay? It's when you create it, it needs to be honest and it needs to feel right. For example, if you use colors in your brand that you don't personally love, but you think, then those colors aren't a part of your personality. Or how about this? If you're funny in real life, be funny in your brand. But if you're not a stand up comedian, like you can't force it, so don't even try. It's like, I'm not funny, so I'm not going to try and be funny. Because content consumers these days are really smart and critical, they will know the difference if you're being authentic or not. Okay. If you're coming at your personal brand from the perspective of what will they love as opposed to who am I really or what will they love about me, then chances are there's going to be some sort of disconnect in your messaging and in your content. Okay. So, how do you know for sure if you're doing it right? The secret is it's going to feel easy. So, if it feels easy, it's probably authentic, right? Because it's easy for you to do that. So, tip when you're creating your brand or thinking of ways to add more of you to your brand, think about taking that week off of social media or capping your consumption so that by what you see, and instead you're turning inwards for more of these answers and for more of that internal creativity. Okay. So, the golden rule, I'm just going to repeat it. It needs to be authentic. Okay. I feel like I could do a whole other podcast episode on authenticity and how that we need more of it on social media and online in general. So if you want me to record that episode, let me know. Head to ashlyavismarketing.com or you can find me on Instagram at ashlyavisco. Send me a message and let me know you want me to record that. Okay. So now here are 6 ways to add more personality to your brand. Just an FYI, if you're driving right now or you're multitasking and you're unable to take notes, I got you. In the show notes today, I've actually linked the entire list in a PDF for you, so you can just download this, save it for when you're ready to tackle it, and just head to ashlyavismarketing.com/podcast to find the show notes for today's episode and then just click to download it. Cool? Podcast to find the show notes for today's episode and then just click to download it. Cool? There, I hope I saved you some stress of having to remember all of these or write them down because they're all going to be pretty good. Okay, are you ready? The first way you can add more of your personality to your brand is to tell personal stories. Okay. When you share personal stories in your content plan, like in your posts or to your stories or on a live or saving it to IGTV, maybe on your website or in your emails, I could go on. But it allows us to get to know you and connect with you. It's how we know you're a human. It's also smart because this is how people will actually remember you. I read somewhere that the human brain is much more able to remember facts and figures if it's in a story format, like beginning, middle, end, than if facts were just thrown at you. Okay. So if I were you, I'd have a goal or a plan to tell at least one or two personal stories. Can be like your origin story, your transformation story, your why story, your day-to-day life lessons told in a story format. Just try not to compare your stories to those of others in your industry. Okay, think about the realism or the authenticity to them. You may be thinking, but my life is so boring. Who wants to hear those mundane stories? Or I don't have anything amazing that happened to me to share today. And that's okay. In fact, it's a good thing. It's relatable. Tell your mundane stories anyways, because I guarantee that mundane is easy to connect with. And don't be afraid to repeat stories that mean a lot to you because repetition is okay. And in fact, in such a busy, noisy place like the internet and social media, repetition is needed if you actually want people to read and get that message. Okay, so number 1 is to tell personal stories. Check. All right. Moving on to number two. Number two is be conversational. All right. Notice the words and the phrases that you use in everyday conversation, and then include those words and phrases in your captions, in your emails, and even on your website. It will allow people to feel like they know you and that they like you, and then that they are talking to like a real person, right? It will also help combat any weird disconnect when people actually meet you in person. So, like, for example, if you have like a stuffy, cold, professional sounding brand voice, like lots of professionalism on your website and in your Instagram captions, for example, and then when someone actually meets you in person, you're super warm and bubbly and friendly, and you go in for the hug instead of the handshake, people are going to feel like a little bit of a disconnect. They're like, what? I thought you were this like super professional person. Not to say that people are looking for super professional, they're actually looking for just someone relatable that they can hire to solve their problem or whatever, right? So I would like for you to just jot down any words that you say a lot or phrases that you say a lot, and start to make sure that those words are in your copy, like on your website or in your captions, right? If you use the conversational words and catchphrases that you use in everyday conversation with friends, clients, or customers, they're going to feel like they actually know the real you. So, I know that I was listening to a podcast recently, and I knew that the podcast host was Canadian because he used a phrase that we use here in Canada. I'm not going to be able to remember it off the top of my head, but I was like, oh, he's probably from Canada because he said that. So I too am from Canada, if you're listening and you don't know. But I was just like, you know what? That's something that immediately connected me to him and made me know a little bit more about him, just because he used a phrase that only we would know about. Cool. So let's go on to number three. This one is sort of my favorite. Okay, it's something that allows me to be really creative. So let's reference some of your favorite things. I'm a sucker for good memes or voiceovers or GIFs, and I'm not alone in saying that. This is like some of the most popular content on social media right now. And memes and voiceovers and GIFs, they reference other pop culture phenomena. So why not add in references to your favorite movies or your favorite shows or music or artists or authors or artists, right? I said artist twice. But people can see more of what you like in your content if you put it there. So for example, I really like to read. So I share a lot of reels and quotes from books that have really changed the way I think about things or helped me in some way. Okay, I have lots of reels as like my two favorite books for this or my five favorite books for that. And I put the books in the reels, and so people can see that and they're like, "Oh, she likes that book too," or "Oh, she likes that author too." I also love Schitt's Creek. Right, it was like one of like the best shows of 2020 that got me through a lot of hours spent alone at home. So it just so happens that Schitt's Creek has a ton of amazing GIFs online, so I sneak those into my posts and even in my workshop presentations when I teach. I sneak those in a lot to let people know, like, I like this show, and it helps me connect with people that also like it. I also have a friend who really loves The Simpsons, and at least once a week she has some sort of Simpsons reference in her feed that makes me laugh. Because it tells me a little bit more about her, and oh, of course she would post that she loves The Simpsons because of this. Cool. So, just a little advice here, just make sure that if you're using these references, that I get post a Friends meme if you've never really watched through Friends and don't understand the context of it. You don't want to get burned by using like a really popular show just to connect with your followers, and then your followers want to have a conversation about that show, but you've really actually never seen it. You don't want to get burned by using it out of context too. So make sure it's authentic, and at the same time, we don't need to keep our followers sorry, we do need to keep our followers in mind. It's okay to ask yourself what kinds of shows or music our followers are consuming that they really like too. That kind of thinking would be like a really good place to start. So, what do I have in common with my ideal community? What kind of shows do I like that they probably like too? And then you can start adding in these references and testing them out. Maybe you test them out in your stories first and see how they do, test them out in your feed or test them out in some video and just see how they do. And then it's got a little bit more personality there. They're seeing what you like and what you like to engage with. All right. Number 4, show your face as soon as you're ready, and if you can, show it on video. Now, I could go on and on about the power of video, but I won't do that here. Instead, if you're curious about how video can transform your brand, I need you to go check out my Video with Confidence crash course, which is available at ashleyAvisMarketing.com/crash course. I'll link it in the show notes, and you can check out that free training where I talk about the power of video and how easy it is for you to nail that first video on Instagram and get that out there. But overall, if people can see you move, if they can hear your voice, if they can get some eye contact, you can be comfortable being yourself in front of the camera. It's just a fantastic way to let your personality shine in your brand because it's you. Like how can you hide your personality when you're on video, right? So here's the thing. You just got to do it. And you got to be real with it. So there isn't a huge need to go and get dressed up or do your hair and makeup if you don't want to. Just have fun with your videos. You can start just by filming like a little story, talking to the camera, sharing 15 seconds of your life or the behind the scenes of your day. I feel like starting with your stories is a really good starting place. Or you can have fun shooting a reel if you're really confident with creating a reel and splicing it together or having fun with music. And I find like the easiest way to do this once you're comfortable is to go live. And if you're not comfortable going live, really watch the Video with Confidence crash course and it'll show you how that's an easy, fast way to get your content out there and break the ice. Or if you're really feeling it, you can make a welcome video for your website. So there's lots of ways that you can add video into your brand online. The fifth way to add more person to your brand is to share your values. Okay. Your values and why you do what you do is important to others and it can help you stand out. A hint here is just don't go and Google like top company values like trust, integrity, caring. Like, no, really sit down and give yourself some time to think on these values and what makes you different. Some different ideas that could be part of your brand. Like, for example, it could be I really value creativity or authenticity or sustainability or equal rights, inclusivity, family, freedom, loyalty, knowledge, faith, connection to peace, right? Like what's actually value to you? Like why do you have your business? Why do you live your life the way you do? And if you can think of some of those values, maybe come up with a list um, of maybe like your top 5 or something like that and get them out there. It's going to help you stand out. People are going to remember this, okay? So get out there. It's going to help you stand out. People are going to remember this, okay? So get a list going of your top values and then share them to Instagram. Email them out to your email list. Get them on your website. Make a stories highlight with them. Do not underestimate the ability for having your values front and center as a way to help you stand out. Not a lot of people are doing it, but the big ones, the big brands that are having success realize that values do help us connect with people and it is part of the brand, but it's also part of your personality as long as you make them specific and authentic, right? All right. So then number 6. Now I like number 6 because it's fun, okay? And it's going to get you thinking out of the box. Okay, number 6 is ask your friends and family to define you in 3 or 4 words. I like this because you can really learn a lot about how people perceive you. Now, once you've gotten some well rounded feedback, compare those words to your current brand. And does it make people feel those 3 words brand? So, for example, let me just give some examples here. If you were defined by your friends and family as loud, energetic, and spontaneous, I'd expect to see something like bold colors, in your face font, fast paced videos, maybe some edgy music, or lots of variety. If it feels authentic to start to trickle that in, go for it, right? But if you were described as calm, thoughtful, and quiet, I'd want to see some calming soft colors, maybe some neutrals, maybe slower moving videos or softer music. So start to pivot your content in that direction if it feels right. And if you were described as like funny, chill, smart, I'd want to see some clever memes or silly quotes or educating videos with a sense of humor. Like, how would that look to add some of that content in, right? Always, if you get feedback and then you ask yourself, like what's the vibe people feel when they're around me, and can I put that vibe into my brand? That then you're going in a really authentic direction to get your personality out there. Okay. Wow, I didn't want to ramble on today, but I feel like I did. So that's it. I want to know, like, how are you feeling? Maybe we should do a little recap. Okay, let's recap the 6 ways you can add more personality to your brand to help you stand out. So, number one was tell personal stories. Okay, get them in there, maybe 1 or 2 a week to let people know about the stories and the life that you're living, right? Number two is be conversational with the words that you use. Add in the words that you use or the phrases that you use in regular conversation so people feel like they're actually talking to you in your content. And number three, reference your favorite things and like your favorite movies, songs, TV shows. There's tons of different ways that you can add that into your brand in a subtle and maybe not so subtle way. Number four was to get on video. And like I had to put that in there because video is just a perfect, you can't really hide your personality when there's a camera in your face and you're talking away at it. Cool. And then number five was to share your values, really sit down and have a think on what's important to you. And then put those values out there as often as you can. And then number six was ask for feedback about how people perceive you, and always feel free to pivot or align your brand to make it feel more like you. Right now, as a reminder, I will have this entire checklist of 6 actionable things that you can do to add more personality to your brand and help you stand out. It's downloadable, right, at ashley.avismarketing.com/podcast. It's on today's show notes. So you can just click it, download it, and print it off or save it to your desktop next time you're creating your content. Now, I hope you got a lot out of this episode today. I hope you got a lot of ideas spinning in your head, a lot of content ideas to get more personality but in there and help you make your brand stand out a little bit from your competitors or from other brands that look just like you. And I didn't forget this week's tip of the week. Here it is, okay? I think a lot of experts would go back and forth on this one, but here are my 2 cents. When adding more personality to your brand, it can help a lot to make your profile photo your headshot. Okay? So people will start to get to know you, and the first thing they'll want to do is they'll want to see your face, right? They'll want to see who it is that they're actually hearing from and who's creating this content. And it's easy to quickly just go back to your profile and see a face as a profile photo, right? And your face will start to become recognizable. It's going to become part of your brand. So if you're up for it, make sure that the headshot is current, bright, make sure you're making eye contact, and that there's nothing distracting in the background. Okay? If you're a fan of profile pictures being headshots, let me know by shooting me a DM on Instagram and check out my profile pic while you're at it. Oh, and if you liked this week's episode, then make sure you catch the next episode where I get to talk to a woman who brings confidence to controversy and has a beautiful approach to adding her personal opinions to her brand, which really piggybacks well to what we just talked about today. Cool. So thank you for listening to the Ashley Avis podcast. If you like what you heard, subscribe, leave me a rating, or even better, tell a friend about my show. You can grab all of today's show notes at ashley.avismarketing.com. Plus, find more ways to simplify, strategize, and show up with confidence when marketing and selling online.